So in the last session, we started up writing the test cases. So before preparing of the test cases, what are the things we need to follow is so before preparing of the test cases, we need to prepare the test scenario. Later on, once you prepare the test scenario, we need to prepare UI test cases. We'll call it as UI test cases, user interface test case. Next, we need to prepare input domain test case, input domain test cases. And we need to write the main functionality. Test cases is main functionality. Next, we need to execute the defect report. We need to executing test cases. Executing test cases. Executing test cases. Now, once execute the test cases, we need to generate the defect reports. We need to generate the reports. Next, finally, we need to generate the defect submission. Defect submission. So this is the procedure to be followed for writing your test cases. So first of all, you need to prepare your scenario. Once you prepare your scenario, you need to write your UI test cases. Next, once you prepare your UI test cases, based on that, we need to prepare your input domain test cases, and we need to write your main functionality, executing test cases, defect report, as well as defect submission. So scenario mainly explains about describing the overview structure of the functionality. So main functionality, for example, you need to work on login. For example, you're going on particular application like Amazon page, login, customer details, product details, payment, delivery, logout. So this is a scenario. Mean you are going to describe what are the things we need to test it out, overview structure. Now, based on that, we need to prepare your UI test cases. What are the things we need comes under UI test cases? For example, you consider the login window. In the login window, so whether the alignment, color, size, username and password enabled or disabled or not. What about the window size? Next, what is the text present in the text present for the username and password? What are the buttons are enabled or disabled or not? Whether the checkbox is enabled or not. So these are the things we need to describe before testing the functionality. So we already discussed in the black box testing, usability mean that you are going to describe whatever the elements present in the window. So those things we need to describe in the UI test case. So describing the elements present in the current window. So we need to describe them. Based on that, you need to prepare your input domain test cases. So I'll tell you what are these things. So input domain mainly explains about range and type. We'll call it as a range and type. So how many characters does it accepting? How many characters not accepting? Whether range, what is the range from the minimum value to the maximum value? So those things, what kind of elements we need to accept, what kind of element doesn't accept. So for buttons or text boxes or radio buttons or check boxes. So those things we need to mention in your input domain test cases. Now, once you prepare it, you need to write the main functionality, that is expected values to actual values. We need to prepare we need to write your expected values to the actual results. If the test case is passed, you no need to prepare any, reports. Only for the failure cases, we need to prepare your test case, defect reports. If you find any minor issues, we need to take the screenshot and need to send to the developer. That's not. We don't need to prepare any defect report for the minor issues. And for major issues, you need to generate your reports and send to the developer. Okay. So we need to execute it test cases. So if the expected value is not equal to actual value, we need to prepare your defect report. So we need to prepare your defect report based on so on which where you are going to prepare your. So we need to preparing test cases. Oh, sorry, preparing reports using Excel sheet or test management tool or bug tracking tool. So anyway, I'll show you how to write this test case in Excel sheet as well as also in test management tool like test lodge. I'll show you how to take the installation process for the test lodge, and you can write those test cases in the test lodge also. Now, defect submission. If you find any major issues, we are going to generate the reports and submission to developers. This is the procedure to be followed for your test cases. So first of all is what we need to do. We need to you need to prepare your scenario. Later on, we need to prepare your UI test cases. Once you prepare your UI test cases, you need to write your input domain, range and type. So you may ask me, sir, some applications doesn't have any range and type. Do we need to follow the input domain? It's not mandatory to write the input domain. So whenever you find any range and type, so in that case, we need to prepare your range and type also. Now, so you need to write your expected actual results. If you find any failure cases, we need to generate the defect reports and defect submission. So this is the overall structure of your writing the test cases. First of all, I'll show you how to write your scenario. So we already discussed in the last session. Scenario. So what are the contents present in the scenario itself? So what are the contents present in the scenario? See. So every scenario will always start with an ID. So unique number or unique name. So what is the scenario? Scenario underscore 001 is the ID of the element. In which application we are going to test? What is the main functionality? What functionality we are going to what we are going to work on that? Test steps. What the steps to be followed for the current application. So for example, we want to open your browser like Chrome browser. So how we are going to open your Chrome browser? How many ways you can open your Chrome browser? So those are the steps we need to prepare it. Now, based on that, what is your requirement ID? First requirement is Chrome browser, right? Now, total number of test cases. How many test cases we need to write for that? And how much time it takes to complete your total overall. So these things we need to follow for writing. So every test case will follow with the scenario ID, name of the test case, description, test steps, requirement ID, next total number of test cases, and time taken for execution of your test cases. So for example, we already discussed about, for example, I want to test an Amazon page. So what are the things I need to test? So this you can see here, requirements, Chrome browser, Amazon page, login window, accounts, orders, order page. So these are all my requirements. So these things I need to work. First of all, I need to test my login window. That is my first requirement is login window. When you want to test your login window, Without, if you want to work with the login window, first we need to check whether the browser is working or not. Once the browser is opening, we need to check whether the page is working or not. Once a page is open, I want to check whether the login window. You may ask me, sir, what is a page? Yahoo page. Yahoo is an application. So I'm going to check first initially by typing that URL. Yeah, Amazon page is opening or not. Now I need to check your login window. So main functionality is login window. That is first requirement. So for that, I'm going to prepare your, first you need to prepare your UI test cases. We'll call it as a UI test case. So what are the UI test cases you find in? So when you want to write your test cases, first you don't know the whatever the elements present in the window. You don't know initially. Once you get the build from the developer, you need to identify what are the elements present in the window. First, we need to describe each and every element. Color of the window, size of the window, alignment correct ga unda leda, whether all the buttons are aligned or not, whether the buttons are overlapping or not. Next, whether the username and email ID are present on the enabled in the window or not, are active mode or not. Next, what are the buttons present in the window or not? Logo is nothing but images, whether the images are existing or not. Menu bar is existing or not. Next, for example, you're working on which application you are going to work on, login window. So in the login window, do you find any Google continue with Apple create or not? Private pros. So for example, I'll show you the which application you want to work in that. So for example, I want to open my Google page, right? So in this Google page, the first thing is, so this is a logo. Yes, logo is existing. Text box is present. Two buttons are in enabled mode. These links are in active mode. These links are active mode. Color of the window, size of the window. Next, Gmail link is in active mode or not. I'm not clicking. I'm going to check whether the Gmail is existing or not. Images, links. So these are the things URL. When I place the cursor here, whether it's in active mode or in deactive mode. Next, menu bar. What is menu bar? If I go this part, so this is called menu bars. So whether all these element existing or not, all these things I need to mention in my UI test cases, in my user interface test cases. Color of the window, size of the window, alignment, overlapping, username and email ID, buttons, logo, menu bar, continue, some links are there or not. Next, do you have any privacy and policy terms and conditions for the current window or not? See, these are all about advertising, business. These are all the links present in the window or not. All these things I need to mention in my UI test cases. Once I prepared all these things, now I need to prepare my UI test case. That is, prepare my input domain test cases. Input domain test cases. Now, so if you go for the input domain test cases, what are the things to present in your input domain test cases? The input domain test case mainly explains about BVA and ECP concept. We called as a boundary value analysis and equivalence class partition. So BVA and ECP, boundary value analysis and equivalence class partition. BVA mainly explains about range and type. ECP in the sense it explains about valid elements and invalid elements. For example, we'll go with the login window. I'll show you just I already prepared my, for example, I prepared my scenario. Now I want to write, I already prepared my UI test cases. What are the things present in the UI test cases? Logo existing or not? Next, menu bar is present or not? Present on the window or not? Next, links are active or links are in active mode or not? Next, buttons are in buttons are in enabled or disabled mode or not. Next, any other things? Color of the window, color of the window. Next, alignment, alignment. Next, overlapping, overlapping. Okay, na? Alignment, overlapping. Next, any other things do you find in the window? Any other things? Logo, menu bar, links, buttons, color of the window, alignment, overlapping. So all these things have been described now. Once I describe it, I want to check your input domain. And for example, we'll consider as username. Will be considered as username. For example, 4 characters, no special symbols, no special symbols, and password same. Password is also 4 characters, minimum and maximum 4 characters only. Next, no special symbols, no special symbols. So this is my requirement. So if they have given range, we need to prepare. First one is BVA, will called as a boundary value analysis. We called as a boundary value analysis. So in the boundary value analysis, it will explains about range. Next, expected value, actual value, and test results. Range, minimum minus, minimum plus 1, yes. Maximum minus 1, maximum plus 1. Okay, maximum plus 1. So what is the minimum value? Minimum value, for example, minimum and maximum is 4 only. So 4 will be accepted. 4 is a 4 characters is accepted. So expected is true. Actual will also be true. So test result will be pass. Now minimum minus 1. So 3 characters. So it should not accept 3 characters. It should accept minimum 4 and maximum 4. So it should not accept. So expected is false, false, and fail. Fail case. Similarly, so minimum plus 1. So 4 characters. Minimum plus is 4 plus 1, 5 characters. So it should not accept 5 characters. So it is also false, false, and fail case. Now maximum also same thing. Na? Maximum is also 4 characters. 4 will be accepted. So true, and pass. Now maximum minus 1 is 3 characters. So it should not accept 3 characters, right? True. So this is next 5 characters. False, false, fail. So what are the here? What are the positive elements are there? Positive is minimum and maximum. These are the positive. What are the negative test cases we are having? Minimum minus 1, minimum plus 1, maximum minus 1, maximum plus 1. So these are all the negative cases. So minimum even positive, this positive, this is positive. And the remaining are negative. These two are negative as well as these two are the negative. So in this way, we need to prepare your input domain test cases. Next, equivalence class partition, we called as ECP. What are the valid and invalid inputs? Invalid inputs. So valid, invalid. So how many characters it will accept? 4 characters. So what is your username? For example, we'll consider as your username 4 characters. So what are the 4 characters? Something like ADMI, admin. That is my username. And the password is pass, PASS. Only these characters only it should accept. And the remaining characters should not accept. Right? So it is showing that, so 4 characters it should accept, no special symbols. Similarly, the password is PASS and no special symbols. It may be lowercase or uppercase. So if you don't want to have in lowercase, you can also mention that. Now I'm going to write. So it should accept only ADMI, and the remaining characters should not accept, like B, C, F. So and so characters. Okay, these characters are invalid. Next, it should not accept any special symbols like at the rate, not equal, ash, percentage, and star. These are all the special symbols which is not acceptable. Next, it may be it should not accept any capital letters. It should not accept any uppercase. So A to Z, which is invalid, it should not accept. So this is called equivalence class partition. So we need to, this is for username. Similarly, we need to prepare the ECP for password also. We need to prepare the ECP for password. This is inputs for username. You need to prepare the equivalence class partition for both username and passwords. PASS pass. Remaining B comma, C comma, D comma, so and so. Whatever the characters, we need to mention all this. Next, it should not accept any special symbols at the rate, ash. Next, dollar symbol, percentage. Next, these are all the not acceptable elements. These are all not acceptable elements. Okay, na? So these things we need to mention in your. Now, it should not accept any capital letters. So A to Z is not acceptable. Capital letters are not acceptable. So as per your requirement, we need to prepare your input domain and equivalence class partition. Now, once you prepare it, you need to write your functionality. What is your functionality? I need to test my login window. I need to test my login window. So you need to write your test cases. So to write with test cases, I told you, we need to prepare your IEEE 829 format for writing your test cases. Institute of Electric and Electronic Engineering format. Institute of Electric and Electronic Engineering format. So what are the elements present in your test cases? Test case ID, name of the test case, description, expected values, actual values, test results, comments. So these are all the comes under test cases. Whenever you want to write test cases, you need to follow some. Depending upon a company standards, they used to have their own format for writing test cases. Some companies they used to follow this, and some used to write. They used to write some environments also. In which environment we need to work, what are the modules we need to work it out, how much time it will take to complete the process, time scheduling, all these things they mention up. But actually procedure to write the test cases, these are the things which you need to prepare it. So test case ID, name of the test case, description, expected values, actual values, test results, and comments. The first part is called as a test design. So what are the contents? ID, name, description, expected value. This is before releasing the build from the developer. We are going to expect something and we are going to write on the application. Actual results, comments, and test results. These are all comes under test execution process. Test execution process. Test execution process. So test case design, and if they ask you what do you remember test case design, you need to say that ID, name, description, expected. What is the test case? This execution is actual results, test results, and comments. These three will come under test case execution. So here, as per your login window, we already written some test cases, right? So test cases. So what are the content present in the test case? test case ID, scenario ID, in which every application will have one unique ID. Description, or what you are going to test. Prerequisites, so application should be available. Steps, what are the navigational procedure to be followed for performing some operations, some tasks. On when you want to perform some task, what operations we need to perform, what steps do need to perform to perform that on a particular application. So steps, navigational structure. Step 1, step 2, step 3. So this will comes under step 1. Test steps, navigation steps. Next, expected result. What we are going to expect? It should open. The window should open. The window should close. The window should minimize. The button should be enabled. While clicking on the button, it should enable. So that is your expected. You are going to expect something, it should happen. If it is really happened, we need to write actual results. Yes, application opened successfully. Application failed to close. Application is in disabled mode. Application is not working. That is, icon is not working. Button is not working. Link is not working. Those things we need to write in your actual results. Test result, pass or fail. And we need to mention the description also. We need to mention the summary. Why it is been failed. Whether the icon is in disabled mode, or the user cannot identify that button properly or not, or whether the button is overlapped. Two buttons then overlap antam. Button with the button overlap ayinda. We need to mention the summary. Why it is been failure. Okay. So this is the overall of your test cases. Now first case ID. Scenario 1. So what functionality we are going to test? Whenever you want to open a particular page, you need to open your browser. Without the browser, you cannot open the page. Next, steps. Prerequisite mean application open aitene prerequisite endante application untene మనం టెస్ట్ చేయగలం. ఉంది కాబట్టి prerequisite opening the application is in active mode. Steps. Step 1. For example, you want to open your Chrome browser. How many ways we can open the Chrome browser? Any విధాలుగా మనం Chrome browser open చేయగలము? Through desktop, through taskbar, next through run mode. Any విధాలుగా ఉంటే how many possibilities we are having? You need to write all the possibilities. You need to mention each and every step by step to be followed for testing the functionality. Test step. Next, expected. Yes. సో ఇక్కడ ఏం ఎక్స్పెక్టెడ్ రాస్తాము. ఇక్కడ నా ఎక్స్పెక్టెడ్ ఏంటి? బ్రౌజర్ ఓపెన్ చేయాలి. ఏ బ్రౌజరు? క్రోమ్ బ్రౌజర్. ఏ విధంగా ఓపెన్ చేస్తున్నాము? డెస్క్టాప్ మీద ఐకాన్ ఉంది కాబట్టి నేను ఆ బటన్ని క్లిక్ చేస్తున్నాను. సో ఎక్స్పెక్టెడ్ ఏం చేస్తాము? బై క్లికింగ్ ఆ బ్రౌజర్ని క్లిక్ చేస్తే, బై క్లికింగ్ ఆన్ ది బ్రౌజర్ త్రూ ద డెస్క్టాప్, ద విండో షుడ్ ఓపెన్, ద బ్రౌజర్ షుడ్ ఓపెన్, ద బ్రౌజర్ షుడ్ ఓపెన్ అని రాస్తాం. ద బ్రౌజర్ should open and రాస్తాం. సో యాక్చువల్ రిజల్ట్స్ లో అప్లికేషన్ ఓపెన్ అయిందా లేదా, బ్రౌజర్ ఓపెన్ అయిందా లేదా, ఓపెన్ అయింది. సో ఓపెన్ అయితే పాస్, లేకపోతే ఫెయిల్ అని రాస్తాం. నెక్స్ట్ టెస్ట్ కేస్. సో మీరు ఎన్ని బ్రౌజర్స్ ఎన్ని విధాలుగా ఉంటే అన్ని విధాలుగా రాయాలి. సెకండ్ టెస్ట్ కేస్, ఇది బ్రౌజరే. ఈ మే ఆస్క్ మీ సార్ I want to open through run mode. So is there any possibility to, is it compulsory to write all the test cases to be have for the possibilities? Yes, you need to write each and every step, each and every possibility you need to mention that. Taskbar, desktop, run mode. So we are having 3 test cases. So which are related to the first test cases. So 1A, 1B, 1C. So first functionality kabatti daniki sambandhinchindi. So we need to mention 1A, 1B, 1C, not 2A. It's 1A. సో అలా మెన్షన్ చేస్తాం. యాక్చువల్గా ఒకే రిలేటెడ్ ఉంది కాబట్టి 1A, 1B, ఇంకోటి ఉంటే 1C. ఎందుకంటే బ్రౌజర్ ఓపెన్ చేస్తున్నాం కాబట్టి ఎన్ని స్టెప్స్ ఉంటే అన్ని టెస్ట్ కేస్ ఐడీస్ రిలేటెడ్ టు సింగిల్ కాబట్టి 1A, 1B, 1C అని మెన్షన్ చేస్తాం టెస్ట్ కేస్ ఐడీలో. నెక్స్ట్ ఏం చేస్తున్నాము? బ్రౌజర్ ద్వారా పేజ్ ఓపెన్ చేద్దాం అనుకున్నాం. విచ్ పేజ్ వాంట్ ఓపెన్? ఐ వాంట్ ఓపెన్ మై వర్డ్ ప్రెస్ పేజ్. దేని ద్వారా ఓపెన్ చేద్దాం అనుకున్నాము? త్రూ క్రోమ్ బ్రౌజర్. ఎస్. స్టెప్ టైప్ whatever URL you need to mention, we need to enter into the text box. We need to mention that URL in the, you need to mention the URL in this part. Where you want to mention, you need to mention in the test step. Next, typing some URL, click on the search button. That is it. If it is click, so what we are expecting, if I entered something and if I click on that, so button is, the window is opened or not. We are expecting something, the window should open. That we are going to write in expected. If it is open, so in actual result we will need to say application is navigated to home page, and home page open అయింది, home page open అయిందని చెప్పి మనం యాక్చువల్ రిజల్ట్స్ రాస్తాం. ఒకవేళ ఓపెన్ అయింది అనుకోండి, రిజల్ట్ పాస్. ఓకే, డన్. ఓపెన్ అయిన తర్వాత ఏం చేద్దాం అనుకున్నాము? సో థర్డ్ టెస్ట్ కేస్, చెకింగ్ ద ఫంక్షనాలిటీ ఫర్ వర్డ్ ప్లేస్. ఏం చేద్దాం అనుకున్నాము? అందులో క్రియేట్ అకౌంట్ అనే బటన్ క్లిక్ చేద్దాం అనుకున్నాను. సో దాట్స్ థింగ్ ఐఎమ్ గోయింగ్ టు రైట్. So step 3. Next, click on the create account link in WordPress and just enter అయితే ఆ పేజ్ ఓపెన్ అవుతుందో లేదా, అంటే ఆ URL రావాలి, ఆ URL రావాలి. వచ్చిందా లేదా? ఎస్, సక్సెస్ఫుల్లీ వచ్చింది. సో ఇన్ దట్ మేనర్ we need to write all the test cases. We need to write all your test cases. సో ఇప్పుడు చూడండి, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ విల్ టేక్ గూగుల్ పేజ్ అనుకోండి. ఈ గూగుల్ పేజ్లో నేను మాన్యువల్ టెస్టింగ్ అనుకుంటాను అనుకోండి, అండ్ ఇఫ్ ఐ క్లిక్ ఆన్ దిస్ మాన్యువల్ టెస్టింగ్, ఆర్ ఎల్స్ ఇఫ్ ఐ ఎంటర్డ్ మాన్యువల్ టెస్టింగ్, and if I click on the search button, whether it is coming to the home page or not, ఏ home page, మాన్యువల్ టెస్టింగ్ పేజ్ దగ్గరికి వస్తుందా లేదా అనేది నేను ఎక్స్పెక్టెడ్ రాస్తా. బై టైపింగ్ సంథింగ్ మాన్యువల్ టెస్టింగ్ ఆన్ ది టెక్స్ట్ బాక్స్ and click on the search button, in home page manual testing should activate. That is your expected. ఇక్కడ కూడా అంతే వాళ్ళు. ఓకేనా? క్రియేట్ బటన్ క్లిక్ చేస్తే హోమ్ పేజ్ ఓపెన్ అయిందా లేదా? ఓపెన్ అయ్యింది. ఓపెన్ అయితే ఏం చేస్తున్నారు? అందులో యూజర్ నేమ్ ఎంటర్ చేయాలి, పాస్వర్డ్ ఎంటర్ చేయాలి. దానికి ఫంక్షనాలిటీ రాస్తామట. చెకింగ్ ద ఫంక్షనాలిటీ ఫర్ ఈమెయిల్ ఐడి అండ్ పాస్వర్డ్. స్టెప్ 4. సో ఇక్కడ చూడండి, ఎంటరింగ్ ఈమెయిల్ ఐడి అండ్ మూవ్ టు ద కర్సర్ టు ది యూజర్ నేమ్. మీరు యూజర్ నేమ్ ఎంటర్ చేసిన వెంటనే సమ్ కేసెస్ ఏమవుతుందంటే మీ కర్సర్ అక్కడే ఉండిపోతుంది. ఇట్ కెనాట్ గో టు ద నెక్స్ట్ ఎలిమెంట్ కి. ఇప్పుడు చూడండి, ఇఫ్ ఐ టైప్ సంథింగ్ ఇన్ దిస్ పార్ట్, యూ కెనాట్ గో ఎనీవేర్. వాట్ వీ నీడ్ టు డూ, యూ నీడ్ టు మూవ్ యువర్ కర్సర్ టు ద పర్టికులర్ లింక్ అండ్ యూ కెన్ క్లిక్ ఆన్ దట్ లింక్. ఇక్కడ కూడా అంతే, మీరు ఎంటర్ చేసిన వెంటనే నెక్స్ట్ పాస్వర్డ్ దగ్గరికి రావాలంటే మీరు ట్యాబ్ కానీ ఎంటర్ కానీ కొట్టాలి. ఎంటర్ కొడితే రాదు, అక్కడే ఉండిపోతుంది. ట్యాబ్ యూజ్ చేస్తే నెక్స్ట్ ఎలిమెంట్కి వెళ్తుంది అన్నమాట. సో అది ఉందా లేదా రాస్తాం. సో బై ఎంటరింగ్ ఈమెయిల్ ఐడి షుడ్ అపియర్ అండ్ ది కర్సర్ షుడ్ మూవ్ టు ద పాస్వర్డ్. సో అలా. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు చూడండి, ద సేమ్ మేనర్ see, this is my page. In this page I've been working on login window. ఇప్పుడు నేను కర్సర్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇక్కడ మెర్క్యూరీ ఎంటర్ చేశాను. యూ కెనాట్, ఎప్పుడు మనం ఎప్పుడు వెళ్తాము? ట్యాబ్ యూస్ చేస్తేనే కానీ, లేకపోతే మన మౌస్ ద్వారా ఇక్కడ క్లిక్ చేస్తేనే కానీ నెక్స్ట్ పేజ్, నెక్స్ట్ ఎలిమెంట్కి మూవ్ అవ్వాలి. అది దానికి రాస్తామన్నమాట. By entering the username on the text box and by clicking on the tab, it should be navigated to the password and we need to enter the password. What we need to enter? Something like water mercury. That I'm going to write. By entering the email ID should appear and need to enter, the cursor should move to the username. And take the cursor should move to the password. Ani rastamata. సో మూవ్ అయిందా లేదా? మూవ్ అయిన తర్వాత నెక్స్ట్ ఏం చేస్తాము? ఓకే, మూవ్ అయిందంటే ఈమెయిల్ ఐడి సక్సెస్ఫుల్లీ అపియర్డ్ ఆన్ ద విండో అండ్ మూవ్ టు ద పాస్వర్డ్. అలా. సో పాస్ అయింది అనుకోండి, నెక్స్ట్ పాస్వర్డ్కి రాయాలన్నమాట. సో బై ఎంటరింగ్ ద పాస్వర్డ్ అండ్ క్లిక్ ఆన్ ది సబ్మిట్ బటన్, హోమ్ పేజ్ ఈజ్ ఓపెన్ సక్సెస్ఫుల్లీ. ఓకేనా? ఇప్పుడు దీంట్లో నేను మెర్క్యూరీ ఎంటర్ చేశాను అనుకోండి, సబ్మిట్ కొడితే ఇదిగోండి ఇలా విండో వచ్చిందా లేదా? విండో సక్సెస్ఫుల్లీ వచ్చింది, విండో సక్సెస్ఫుల్ గా వచ్చింది అని. దీస్ ఆర్ ది థింగ్స్ వీ నీడ్ టు మెన్షన్ ఇన్ ది టెస్ట్ కేసెస్. సిమిలర్లీ I want to click on the register. A link click అవుతుందా లేదా? సో ఏం రాస్తారు ఇక్కడ? ఆ లింక్ క్లిక్ అవుతుందా లేదని టెస్ట్ కేస్ 5 చెకింగ్ ద ఫంక్షనాలిటీ ఫర్ క్లికింగ్ రిజిస్టర్ లింక్. సో ఇక్కడ ఏం చేస్తున్నాము? దేని వర్క్ చేస్తున్నాము? రిజిస్టర్ లింక్ మీద వర్క్ చేస్తున్నాము. స్టెప్ 5 ఇక్కడ ఏం చేస్తారు? క్లిక్ ఆన్ ద లింక్ రిజిస్టర్. Now by clicking on the link registered, the registered window should open. Next, registered window successfully opened. Pass atla. Second, యూజర్ నేమ్ కి ఎంటర్ చేయాలి. సో ఇక్కడ ఏం చేయాలి? ఇక్కడ మీరు TC006 చెకింగ్ ద ఫంక్షనాలిటీ ఫర్ ఎంటరింగ్ ద యూజర్ నేమ్. స్టెప్ 4, స్టెప్ 5. నెక్స్ట్ ఇక్కడ ఏం రాస్తాం? ఎంటర్ యూజర్ నేమ్ విత్ మీరు